Anton first was an incredible production designer. He was somebody that thought out of the box and didn't make his creations from a box. It was always pushing the envelope out, looking for another way to present the design of the film.
Anton was the designer, and one knew from the start exactly what the language of the first Batman was all about.
Anton and Tim and us, you know, I always looked at it as we were more the practical side of things. We would make it all work, and Anton would be the thinker and the ideas man.
Tim, from the very start, wanted to concentrate on the dark aspects of Batman. I hadn't worked with Anton before, but it was his conceptual genius.
As a person, I loved the guy. I thought he was a fantastic designer, great ideas man, always sort of trying to think up, you know, something new.
The first frames of reference that Anton brought into it was imagining what New York looked like from a foreigner's perspective. Your whole sort of frame of reference is kind of a disjointed one, which I think really worked to the advantage of the film.
Didn't want to make it period, say, so it's set in 1940, 50, whatever. Didn't want to say 1989 either. It's like, for me, it's best to set it in its own world. So we just took the approach, if there was a parallel universe New York, or, you know, if like the planning commission had been all screwed up, it just, what would have happened to New York if it had kind of gone the way it was going in the early 80s, you know, where everything was getting worse and worse.
It was like a city that had been built on top of other buildings, and we got into these big sort of metal stanchions and, you know, shapes that were holding up buildings that you never see apart from in, you know, some of the matte paintings. A lot of Gotham City was based on certain things by Albert Speer, you know, the German architect for the town hall, and we pinched a little bit of, it's a Japanese architect called Shin Takamatsu, whose work is based on mechanical engineering.
There is very much a machine aesthetic, which worked very well with what we were trying to achieve with the film. His style at the time was kind of a retro look as well, but it was a perfect combination with the sort of deco-y New York in the 40s. They worked, like, fantastically together.
One of the main advantages of going to Pinewood Studios was that they have a very large back lot, which has nothing on it. So we were able to take a vast area of flatness, which actually had some concrete streets on, and take that as a sort of basis and then build onto that. It was all done with painted mats and optically composited, not digitally.
And I'm always fascinated by what those guys are capable of doing. I mean, guys created a whole city.
It was set in winter most of the time, so we had these sort of big 40s overcoats, and people could wear hats, women could wear hats, and that just kind of created that whole sort of retro look.
It was a juxtaposition of lots of different styles, just to make it texturally more interesting and something you haven't seen before.
And I remember the first day I walked on this set, I said that this is not a movie. This is an experience.
Be careful.
Anton's idea for the Batcave was that he wanted to get this monumental quality to it by having these massive concrete footings and these bits of rock.
I think Anton's idea was that it's like a floating platform in the middle of a void. You don't know how big it was. There was never a top and a bottom.
There, you would never. Yeah.
Working with Tim on a lot of this was, you know, you tell us what the shots are, and we're built to those setups.
The monochrome aspect of it, that's just a really good sort of way of keeping everything cohesive, and things would pop when you need it. You'd have something like Alicia's apartment where we had these black and white portraits of her, but then the only thing that stood out were these red lips. And so it's just selectively going through all of the sets, you know, there'd be moments where you want to pull something out, and that was one of them.
This is a nice apartment. Lots of space.
I thought Vicky Vale's apartment was marvellous to do.
No.
And they wanted it like a sort of loft, and we managed to find chairs and things which looked like Rennie Mackintosh and things. And I think it worked very successfully, and it still stands up, I think, sort of design concept.
Say this. Son of a bitch. Makes a connection with us and with Axis Chemicals. What kind of damage are we looking at?
You had Grissom, who was the gang boss. The set for him was something that was kind of modern in appearance, and we had these two big pewter heads outside the window, and there were these squashed murals around the side of the room that were Tamara de Lemica in style.
I wonder if you'd mind waiting in the next room.
It's just overscale elements that were squeezed into this space just to make it feel more oppressive.
Commissioner Gordon. The most difficult was the armory, which Anton and Tim were very specific about. And I found a sculptor, and Tim liked his work, and he, with Anton and I, and the rest of the art department, worked on that for about 3 or 4 months, making all of those suits of armour, of which Tim, when he got a moment, would call in at night time and sort of check them out and alter them. A lot of directors are artists, but Tim's very strong point, which is to our favour, is that he is very art department orientated, and his films are, in brackets, art department films.
I went to the apartment he had rented, and he just had drawings and all kinds of fabrics and things hanging up, you know, and I just thought he was a trip, you know, altogether. So that's one of the first memories I have of coming to London and just being thrust in this whole experience.
I did the locations, like we shot at Hatfield House, we shot at Nedworth, we did Acton, the Joker's Den. Tim said to me, tell us exactly how you see it, you see. And I came down with Anton and Tim. We went to Acton Power Station. I'd done a previous picture there, so I suggested that that might be a good idea to shoot there.
It all boils down to a question of money at the end of the day. In fact, you know, I think halfway through the lot build, we had to start cutting a few corners. It was a doctor's office. There's no money to do it, and you've got to come up with something. It was a small part of the prop room. It was like a little area under the stairs, a couple of flats and set dressing.
Let's see how we did.
You've got to come up with something, and it worked perfectly.
Gotham City Cathedral, transportation for 2.
Right away, sir?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, sir.
There was no cathedral set whatsoever. There was a facade at the end of the back lot with some steps and some doors. All they said was get 25 pews, and they were put in the middle of an empty stage. And then Anton just built some steps, and that's all it was. There were the top piece, which Anton built for Tim, with the bells. I think it was minimalist what it cost. Nothing. It was an empty stage.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
It's not just another film, it was something that I felt was something to be really proud of.
I'm only laughing on the outside. My smile is just skin deep.
It isn't the sort of film that typically does appeal to the Academy, generally speaking, but I think it was just so unusual and so perfect in its time that it just captured a lot of people's imagination, and that's what pushed it through.
Anton gets the Oscar, and the set decorator, fortunately, gets it too, but I really take no credit for it. It's Anton and Tim.
You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses on, would you? Huh?